Clark O'Leary woke up yawning. Then the tang of sulfur burned her nose and she sneezed, jolting with a splash. A splash? She opened her eyes and blinked until everything came into focus. She lay in shallow, warm water. Icy air bit her nose. Tall, snow-tipped fir trees crowded her on one side, and on the other, clear blue sky. Blue sky. The shock of it slammed through her. Where the hell am I? Because it wasn't Vegas. At least not the one she knew with the scorched sky and nuclear winter. That Vegas had been quarantined, half underground and isolated in the futile hope of avoiding radiation drifting across the continent. Clark jackknifed up and grasped her head at the giddy onslaught. Her stomach revolted, and she leaned to the side to vomit something thick, dark, and sluggish. Gross. Moving her eyes hurt. God, everything hurt. Shifting away from her mess, her fingers hit something rough underwater, smooth and curved. She pulled out an oxidized Coke can. The letter C had been carved into the aluminum. It was just like the can she had drunk from last night, but old and in water, in the middle of nowhere. A growing sense of doom settled in her stomach. She noticed more odd things. The metal on her watch had deteriorated, and a network of rust covered her bracelet's brittle charms. She fumbled about the shore, searching for more evidence of what, she wasn't sure, but all she came across was more mud, more strange sulfur-smelling water, and more throat-tightening panic. Where was she? Why was she there? She jammed the heels of her palms into her eye sockets. Calm down, Clark. Think. Scrambling back in time, she tried to conjure the last thing she remembered. The long sleep, waking in water, but her brain was as sluggish as the surrounding lake. Tiny warm waves lapped against her legs in a soothing way, as if to say, "It's okay. Don't stress. You are where you're meant to be." Think! She had to reach further back than that, back to before the sleep. To yesterday. To the end of the world.
50 years of hunting rogue humans had brought Rush to this. Peeping at a woman while she bathed in the hot springs of a lake. His lake. He scrubbed his face at the absurdity and stepped out of the forest to see better, but couldn't keep the scorn from his mind. Him, an ex-guardian leering like a teenager. "What do you think?" he grumbled to the gray wolf next to him. "Does she look good enough to eat?" For much of the past decade, the scrappy old wolf had been Rush's constant companion. Him and his pack of snow wolves currently hunting in the surrounding forest. Even though Rush had not shifted into wolf form for decades, the locals still scented him as a kindred spirit and bowed to his energy. Rush winced. He may not be with the original Nightstalk family, but he'd made a new family. A new pack. Gray growled and licked his teeth, eyes never leaving the woman. His prize. Their prize. Rush's curse forbade him to touch another living being, but the wolf at his side was free. The pack helped Rush hunt wayward humans roving into their territory. They were how Rush continued to keep the realm of Elfheim safe, even if his job as a guardian was finished. The woman had overlong russet hair, pale, creamy skin, a delicate neck that drew the eye down to plump breasts stretching her top. She was a beauty like no other, but she would forever be out of reach for someone like him. He tugged at the neck of his fur-lined cape. Despite the snow surrounding him, he cooked. "Possibly a nymph playing in the water?" he murmured. Gray snorted. "Maybe." She couldn't see Rush, no one could. The curse took care of that, too. So he studied her openly. She wore strange, tattered clothes in a fashion he'd not seen before. Rush had traveled all over Elfheim, even beyond into the forbidden Crystal City where humans killed Fae on sight, if they'd been able to see him. But this woman,